In this video, I'll look at shadows and shading in the train station. Right now, I've got the lights in place, and the color could probably use a little adjusting in the materials and maybe the lights. And I need to work on the shadow quality and what's actually casting shadows, as things seem to be floating a little bit. I'll run a quick render, and we can see here as it starts to resolve that I've got good sunbeams coming in, although they're very, very crisp. Additionally, the seats are floating, we'll call them, meaning they're not really grounded by any local shading around the bases. Further, things like the ticket booth, the clock, and the signs, again, are floating on the walls. The shading is very even as well, and I need to work on this. What I'll do then is start to turn on shadows on some of my lights and make other objects non-shadow casting. I'll also refine the shadows here on this sun, so it's a little softer and a little more real. To start, I'm going to make my chandeliers not cast shadows. That way the light that's inside them doesn't cast large ring shadows all over from them. Although in theory the chandeliers do cast shadows, it's sometimes more convenient to not have them. That way the light can emanate all around instead of being blocked in odd shapes. What I'll do is to pick my chandeliers, pressing H for select from scene, and turning off lights and turning on groups. In the groups, I'll select the chandeliers and click OK. Then I'll right-click and choose Object Properties. In the Object Properties, I'll uncheck Cast Shadows. That way there is absolutely no way this object can cast a shadow, although they'll still receive them from anything else. I'll click OK, and then I'll select one of those lights. Again, I'm going to use the Select from Scene dialog, because I can filter down what I'm seeing and pick things really quickly. I'll pick any one of the chandelier lights because they're all instanced. Right-click, and on my quad menu, there's a Cast Shadows option. It understands, the quad menu that is, that I'm dealing with lights and gives me light-specific tools. I'll check Cast Shadows, and in the shadow type, I'll change over to Ray Traced. In our shadows then, there's two basic types, Shadow Maps and Ray Trace Shadows. We're seeing an example of ray trace shadows here on the floor. I'll pull up this rendered frame window, and that is a ray trace shadow. It is cast accurately through the windows and is very, very crisp. In fact, too crisp. Shadow maps are actually a very old way of dealing in shadows, and they are generally fuzzy, trying to approximate how true light spreads as it gets farther away from the shadow casting source. Before ray tracing was reasonable in computers, shadow casting through shadow maps was the way to go. Now I'm going to use ray trace shadows and spread these lights out. In this light then, I'll drop down under Shadow Map and choose Ray Traced. There's some variations of it here, but Ray Traced works terrifically in Mental Ray. Now I'll scroll up, and there's my light distribution, Uniform Spherical, which will work nicely. I will scroll down, and under the Shape and Area shadows, choose a different shape for that light. Instead of a point, I'll emit this from a sphere, so I get a nice round light coming out of that fixture. When I press F3 to switch to a wireframe, you can see the lights in there, and clicking and dragging on the radius here can make them bigger. So I'll make this light nice and big, about 18 inches or so inside that chandelier, and try another render. See how this looks. Already I can see it's working nicely. Up here in the ceiling, these lights are casting gentle shadows that ground all the ceiling elements, giving depth to the render. It is taking a while though, and that's a result of emitting ray trace shadows from spherical lights rather than points. I'm casting an area shadow, asking this light to spread out and soften correctly as it gets farther away, as if the light was coming from a source larger than a point, which it is. It looks terrific, but I may take a hit in render time because of it. I'll check down at the floor, and one quick way to do this in a render is to use a region, dropping down under Area to Render in the Render Frame window, and choosing Region. We've got a red region then that we can pull down and size around to check out just a little bit of our render. I'll click Render and see how this looks, and then see if I want to spend the time on those shadows. So far it looks terrific, but again it's taking quite a while. I'll try one other experiment. Instead of emitting from a sphere, I'll try emitting from a point, pressing Escape to get out of the region render, dropping down under the Shape Area Shadows rollout, and choosing Point. I'll try a render again, and it should be noticeably faster. There's the final gather, which takes about the same time no matter what I do, and here comes the render. The seeding is nice and grounded, and it's much quicker. I'll test a region up at the ceiling and see how this behaves. I'll choose region again, and there's the region. I'll move it up here and hit render. As you can see from this, it's much better sometimes to test small areas and be very specific about what you're looking for. Shadows, shading, rendering. Be very on target. Don't just run full-size renders just to wait and see, because you'll be waiting a long time. Looks much better. The lights look like they're on, the shadows are pretty good at the ceiling, and it's a much quicker rendering. Now I'll work on the shadows of the directional light outside. I'll hit Escape to get out of the region, press H for Select from Scene, and choose that directional light, which I'm going to rename as Sun. This is a ray trace light, and what that gives us then is directional shadows. They are very straight. Depending on how I'd like to treat this light, I can go into the Advanced Effects and soften it, allowing this light to soften out considerably. Alternately, I can play with the hotspot and fall off, and also look in the ray trace shadow parameters and start to soften it, but that may be getting a little bit intense. What I'll do though first is just look at how these shadows are coming in and try it with overshoot on. I'll try a render, clicking on the Render Production button, and make sure I grab the right region. Escape is a powerful tool to get out of this. I can see where they are, and I'll try a render down here. There's no real change with overshoot, so I'll try something else. Again, I'll hit Escape to get out of the region, and scroll up, and there's my shadow parameters. In here in the shadows, we can affect the color, the density, and how the light affects it. I'll turn on Light Effect Shadow Color, and lower down the density just a little bit. That way, my shadows won't be quite as heavy, and the chandelier lights will have more of a chance to impact them. Along the way, I'm also going to scroll up and just change over the intensity a little bit. Maybe take the multiplier down to about 250 so the sun isn't quite so bright. I'll try one more render and see how it looks. That's better. It's still crisp, but I kind of like how it's coming in. I like the way that the light is splaying in there. I'll try one full-size render once I think I've got everything together. And I do this by dropping down under Region and switching back to View and hitting Render. What we're looking for in lighting is that the light always changes across surfaces. Black and white are accents, and no light should clip or go stunningly bright that the color flattens on any surface. We want to make sure that the range always changes, so that wherever we're lighting, the light is dramatic and powerful. Because light and color set the mood in the scene before anything happens. And we need to make sure our scene is beautifully, softly lit. It looks like my render's coming out nicely, and my shadows are drifting over the seating very well. I may need to play with color and intensity a little more on these lights, and maybe the shadows, just to soften them out a touch. But I like the way it's heading. Everything in my station is grounded. Now it's time to play with the rendering quality and how that bounce light is working in here. It seems to be holding up pretty nicely, although it's a little bright on that wall. And I can adjust this in a couple of different ways in the next video. But I like how this is going.